Continuing on in section 3.1 here, I have my variable being divided by 6 and subtracted by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that subtraction first. Again, remember, we always want to try and get our variable term alone. So I want that c divided by 6 alone first. To get rid of subtraction, we add. And if I change one side of my equation, remember we have to change both. So if I add 2 on the left, I have to also add 2 on the right. On the right side here, 6 plus 2 gives me 8. I haven't changed my c divided by 6. Negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0, and anything plus 0 is itself. And these are still equivalent because I did the same thing on both sides. Now, my variable is being divided by 6. We get rid of division by multiplying. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 1 times c is just c. 8 times 6 gives me 48. Now we want to plug it back in to check and see if we're right. So I have 48 divided by 6 minus 2 equals 6. And we're checking to see if this is true. Well, 48 divided by 6 is 8. When I subtract there, 8 minus 2 is 6. And 6 equals 6, so we are good. Feel free to pause and give this one a try if you'd like. Right now my variable is being divided by 5 and subtracted by 1. We get rid of the subtraction first. Again, we always want to get rid of anything that doesn't have our variable and move it to the other side. So I get rid of a subtract by an add. So instead of subtracting 1, I add. Again, subtraction and addition are inverse operations. 2 plus 1 gives me 3. I didn't change the fact that these are equal. I also didn't change d divided by 5. Negative 1 plus 1 is just 0, and 0 plus d divided by 5 is itself. Now, my variable is being divided by 5. I get rid of division by multiplying. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to both in order to keep it equivalent. Here I get 15 on the left. On the right, 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times d is just d. So I get 15 equals d. Now we want to check. So I get 2 equals, my d value we said was 15, divided by 5 minus 1. We do our division first when we simplify here. 3 minus 1 gives me 2, which equals 2, so we are right. Feel free to pause here and give 9 a try if you'd like. My variable is being divided by 2 and subtracted by 8. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that subtraction first. Again, we do backwards PEMDAS. I get rid of anything that doesn't have a variable, move it to the other side. And we move it by doing the opposite, because what my goal is to get this to be a 0. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0. And anything plus 0 is itself. So on my right side, I have f divided by 2. It's still equal to my left side because I did the exact same thing on both sides. I added that 8. So 20 equals f divided by 2. Now I'm still trying to get that variable by itself. Right now it's being divided. I get rid of division by multiplying. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to both. Here I get 40. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times f is just f. So 40 equals f. We want to check it to see if we're right. 12 equals f, which we said is 40. divided by 2 minus 8. PEMDAS says we do our division first. And I bring everything else down that I didn't change. Now we can subtract. I get 12 equals 12. It checks. We are correct. Here we're going to solve the equation and check our solution. So feel free to give 10 a try. Right now, my variable is being multiplied by a negative 4 and added by 12. The 12 is positive there, so it's being added by 12. We want to get our variable term by itself, which means I need to move that 12 to the other side. Right now it's a positive 12, so to get it to 0, I have to subtract 12. 12 minus 12 is how I get that 0. And if I subtract 12 on one side, I have to subtract 12 on the other side of my equation in order to keep it equivalent. 12 minus 12 is 0. So I'm left with, don't forget to take the sign with that number, a negative 4s and a negative 24. These are still equal to each other because I did the exact same thing on both sides. Now, my variable is being multiplied by negative 4. So I go ahead and get rid of it by dividing. And again, if I change one side, I have to change both. Here I get 6. We're going to check it. 12 minus 4 times 6 should give us negative 12. I'm going to take my sign with my number here and get a minus 24. Bring down my 12 equals negative 12. When I subtract here, different signs. We subtract, give the sign of the bigger number. They match. We are correct. Feel free to pause here and give number 11 a try. My variable is being multiplied by a negative 2 and added by 6 because that 6 is positive. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that 6 first. It doesn't have a variable, so we're going to move it to the other side with the 8 that also doesn't have a variable. To get rid of a 6, we have to subtract it. Again, we want no number parts on that side. We just want our variable. So the first thing we do is get rid of any constants. 6 minus 6 gets me to 0. So all I'm left with here is my negative 2m. Maybe. And 8 minus 6 is 2. These are still equivalent because I didn't change my equation other than doing the exact same thing on each side. And when I do the exact same thing, it keeps it equivalent. Now, my variable is being multiplied by negative 2. So I get rid of multiplication by dividing. And if I change one side, I have to change both. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. 1 times m just gives me m. 2 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 1. Now to check this, I'm going to take 6 minus 2 times negative 1 and check to see if it equals 8. Here I'm going to take my sign with my number. Negative 2 times negative 1 gives me a positive 2. And 6 plus 2 gives me 8. Since they're both the same, it checks. And last here, feel free to pause and give this one a try. There's still two things happening to my variable. It's being added by 5 and multiplied by a negative 1. Remember, if there's not a coefficient on our variable, we know it's a 1. So here, I'm still going to get rid of that adding first by subtracting. To get rid of a positive 5, we take it away. 5 minus 5 is how I get to 0. Again, 0 is what we're looking for because 0 plus or minus anything gives me that thing. So negative 7 equals negative 1 times n. To get n by itself, I'm going to divide by that negative 1. Because negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1, and 1 times n gives me n. Negative 7 divided by negative 1 is a positive 7. We're going to check this here. Negative 2 equals 5 minus n, we said, is 7. 5 minus 7 is negative 2, which equals negative 2. This checks, and we are correct. And that's all I have for section 3.1.